let's talk about that. That is our what to watch for game presented by Sling on Fox, big noon Saturday. Ari, we talk about this all the time. Penn State, no matter the gap that you see in the other games, seems to play Ohio State close. Ohio State is favored by 15.5 on the road. That feels big given the history of the series.
Yeah, I think that it was 16.5 last year. And every single year, Ohio State seems to be head and shoulders better than Penn State. They lay 2.5 touchdowns. You think they're going to win by 25, 26, 27, 28. And then all of a sudden it's Penn State that's losing by 4 in the middle of the third quarter. And you're like, how the hell do we get into a game like this? And I actually am learning from my mistakes this year, and I'm riding Penn State this year because like the spread to me is begging you to take Ohio State. But Penn State and James Franklin, if there's one thing that I could be endlessly complimentary of when it comes to James Franklin and what he's built there, is that they are constantly, I think, well, this is the 8th time they've played under his tenure. I think that 7 or 6 out of the 8 games have been closer than you would anticipate, and Penn State's even won one. So I personally think that Penn State, even though there's no rational explanation for it, the spread is telling you to take Ohio State, and that's the wrong thing to do. So I'm fading Ohio State this week, giving Penn State the respect it deserves to constantly bring down Ohio State into these mud fight games where, there's a bunch of weird penalties and fumbled snaps and people are just playing a certain way that is uncharacteristic, and Penn State brings it out of them every year.
They do, and this game is in Happy Valley, which is kind of weird because last week's game was the whiteout, and I feel like usually the whiteout game is Ohio State or Michigan, but that's just a separate.
They blew their whiteout.
Really I'm not really sure how they
I don't think
plan
they want
that.
to do it at noon.
No, they. I think they want it to be a night game, but I don't know how they plan that in advance. Whatever it was good. I mean, they won. It was part of it was a very therapeutic game and night for Penn State last week. I'm going to take Ohio State here because coming off a very lopsided win in one of the weirder blowouts that we've seen in the Ohio State Iowa game last week. All we've really been talking about Ohio State is, okay, so CJ Stroud was under pressure a lot. Iowa was in his face a lot. He didn't look as comfortable. Can he run the ball a little bit or at least move with his legs to open up some stuff? What about the run game? Michigan was able to run on Iowa. Ohio State wasn't. I just think they're going to come out here and just blitz Penn State. I mean, I think they're going to prove that they can run the ball. I think they're going to prove that they can throw it all over the field. So I'm gonna go with the Buckeyes.
If Ohio State wins this game and covers the spread, does that mean that we have got to go an entire season without seeing them play a close game until they play Michigan?
Until they play Michigan, I would think they'll get one against Michigan. But so to your point, Ari, Ohio State's won the last 5 meetings, and the largest margin of victory is 13. So obviously that would not cover this spread. But I think I agree with Nicole here because given what we've seen this season, Iowa's defense is probably better than Penn State's defense. And slowly but surely, Ohio State chipped away, and then the dam broke on Iowa. Now, I think Penn State's offense will make it somewhat easier for Penn State's defense than Iowa's offense did. But, I mean, this is a better Ohio State defense than we saw last year, too. So I think they're going to cover.
See, I think that what you guys are doing is completely rational, and you're using the logic of what the teams bring to the table as part of your analysis.
Right.
But
history tells us we're going to be wrong.
So like,
right, that's what Ari's saying.
I'm just saying, like, I'm going to go the other way with it because, like, I want you guys, when you watch this game on Saturday, to pretend like you bet $1,000 on Ohio State minus 15 and watch it through that lens. And then you'll see
Ari.
You'll see what I'm talking about.
But maybe I'll feel that way if I bet $1.
Yeah.
Maybe
I'm saying I want you to really sweat.
We don't need to take that type of like Ari's also every week on the show just saying like he picks something, the public's too high on something. I know that there's a lot when you're picking games about gut feel. But Ari's are really just like, this is a weird game. Everyone's picking the other one. I got to pick this one, which I respect. I think these are very important skills as someone who is new to the sports gambling space to understand. I'm just taking notes from
my first few years were gut feeling. and it didn't go well for me. So you got to have to, like, my gut feeling is that Ohio State would win this game 56-10 again. Like, that's what I think would happen. But every single year, I think that's going to happen because of the talent disparity and the way that the two teams are playing going into the game. And then next thing you know, there's a fumbled snap on the first drive, or there's 9 holding penalties in the first 14 plays of the game. It's like there's always these like weird things that kind of sabotage the momentum that they're trying to do. And I don't know. And I think that you have to credit Penn State. Like, right? When does it stop being a coincidence? Isn't just for bad things. You know, it's for good things too. Like if you continually do certain things or motivate your team in a way to cause Ohio State to play that way, it's not just Ohio State messing up, it's Penn State making them mess up. So if you think that Ohio State's just going to come out and score 4 touchdowns in their first 4 drives, like that's not going to happen.
I will point out that Ari's Fade the Public game, Nicole, last week was, you and I were like, that Texas-Oklahoma State line is awfully weird. Texas is favored by a lot of points in this game. And Ari's like, fade the public. So,
yep. Yeah, and if fading the public or making that thought process got you 100% wins, then I would be living somewhere else. But the fact of the matter is that like if you watch that game, and like I don't know, I want to tell you guys how I gamble too. So like when I do these things,
yes, please.
I often
around. Uncle Ari has something to tell us.
He doubles down in the middle of it.
I don't always double down. I fade the side that's winning to try to hit a middle. Yeah. So last week when I had Texas 6.5 and Texas was kicking their ass for 3 quarters, then there was a point in time where Oklahoma State was a 14.5 point favorite, or I mean a 14.5 or a 17.5 point underdog. I can't remember which one it was. And you take that side hoping that it lands somewhere in the middle. That way you're safeguarding yourself from losing any money at all. And a lot of times both hit. So like I'm like watching the games. I got the live lines up. Like this is a full on degenerate mode over here. And,
and you got mad that Bill Hancock from the CFP called you a degenerate. And I'm
just trying to be smart about it. I just want to be smart about it.
Here's another one that I was upset I didn't know about. Because you know how you take in these outside factors and the history in a rivalry, et cetera, et cetera. We thought it was weird that Wisconsin was favored over Penn State or Purdue last week.
Right.
I was unaware.
We were right about that.
No, but I was unaware that Purdue was 0-8 following the release of a Taylor Swift album. That is information I could have used.
They have those on the gambling sheets, on the betting sheets, if you want trends. But we nailed that one, right? Didn't we all nail that one?
And there was a Texas stat on that too. They had a pretty good record when Taylor Swift released an album.
Yeah, they're like 7-1. Ohio State's undefeated. They're the only undefeated team after a Taylor album.
I think it's probably because
the other one
like
with Texas was
games in the last 10 years.
Texas has won 11 games.
That is,
or Texas has won at least 11 games in every year that Jennifer Lopez has gotten married. And I think this is the year that breaks the trend. So,
oh really?
How many times has she got married? I would have bet more on
Texas last week.
She's been married.
But my reaction to the Penn State Ohio State game isn't the line or the action. I don't even know which way the action's going. It's just having been through this a few times. You'll see it. We have a scientific term in my in my gambling group chat that's called grab ass. That's what this game is full of grab ass.